The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. It appeared on every screen across the globe at the same time. The strange symbols flashed and pulsed before resolving into English and every other human language. Dr. Samantha Wells stared at her computer monitor in disbelief. As the leading linguist at NASA's Communications Center, she had spent her career searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. Now the proof was displaying itself on her screen. "This can't be real," she whispered, her fingers trembling as she typed commands to verify the signal source. But it was real. The message originated from just beyond the orbit of Mars, from a vessel that had somehow approached Earth undetected by any of humanity's early warning systems. To the governing authorities of planet Earth, the message read, "The galactic hegemony demands your immediate and unconditional surrender. You have 60 Earth days to comply. Resistance is futile and will result in planetary sanctions." Within hours, the United Nations Security Council gathered in an emergency session. Representatives from every nation watched in stunned silence as General Alan Russell presented the latest intelligence. "The alien vessel is approximately 3 miles long," Russell said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "It appears to be a diplomatic craft rather than a warship, but our sensors indicate it possesses technology far beyond our understanding." President Diane Lawson entered the chamber, her face grim. The room fell silent as she took her place at the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "what I am about to share has been kept secret for over 7 decades. Following the discovery of unusual material in the southwestern United States in 1947, the world's governments formed a covert organization dedicated to understanding and replicating alien technology." Murmurs of shock rippled through the assembly. "Since then, we have made significant progress," President Lawson continued. "We have established bases on the far side of the moon, beneath the ocean floor, and within the asteroid belt. We have developed technology that the public believes is still theoretical." On screens around the chamber, images appeared showing massive underground facilities. Spaceships of various sizes were visible, clearly of human design, but incorporating elements that seemed impossibly advanced. The Earth Defense Fleet currently consists of 47 combat-ready vessels and over 300 support craft, General Russell explained. "We've been preparing for this day since the first pieces of alien technology were discovered." Admiral Catherine Ross stepped forward. A tall woman with steel-gray hair and piercing blue eyes, she commanded immediate respect. "The hegemony believes they're dealing with a primitive species capable only of basic spaceflight," she said. "Their scans are picking up our commercial satellites and public space stations. They have no idea what we're truly capable of." Dr. Wells raised her hand. "From analyzing their language patterns, I believe they're used to species immediately surrendering. They consider this a routine annexation, not a serious military operation." President Lawson nodded. "Then we have the element of surprise on our side. Admiral Ross, what do you recommend?" Admiral Ross smiled thinly. "We play along. We make them think we're preparing to surrender. Meanwhile, we mobilize the fleet and prepare for the first strike." General Russell looked concerned. "The hegemony vessel outclasses anything we have. If we engage directly, we'll be destroyed." "That's why we won't engage directly," Admiral Ross replied. "Not yet. First, we need intelligence. We need to understand their capabilities, their communication systems, their weaknesses." President Lawson turned to face the assembly. "I need unanimous agreement. What I'm proposing is dangerous, but I believe it's our only chance. We will pretend to negotiate surrender terms while secretly preparing for war." One by one, the representatives nodded their agreement. "Very well," President Lawson said. "Let's show this galactic hegemony what happens when they threaten Earth." Outside the chamber, ordinary citizens watched the skies with fear and wonder, unaware that humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin. Captain William Gardner still remembered the day he found the alien ship. It was 10 years ago, in 2035, during a routine patrol of the Kuiper Belt. His small research vessel was scanning for valuable minerals when the sensors picked up an unusual metal signature. "We thought it was just another ice rock with some nickel deposits," he explained to the gathered military leaders. "But when we got closer, we saw it. A ship unlike anything humans had ever built." The room was silent as Gardner showed the images on the large screen. The ship was sleek and strange, clearly designed by non-human minds. It had been abandoned for what scientists later determined was over 300 years. That discovery changed everything, Major Olivia Pierce said, taking over the briefing. She was the head of the engineering team that had studied the alien technology. Her short red hair framed a face lined with the stress of keeping such enormous secrets. "We learned more in the first month examining that ship than in the previous 50 years of space exploration." Major Pierce pulled up new images on the screen. They showed massive underground facilities. "These are our shipyards," she explained. "The largest is beneath the Pacific Ocean floor. We also have facilities on the dark side of the moon and inside Olympus Mons on Mars." General Russell whistled softly. "How did you keep this hidden for so long?" "Money listed as defense research, workers who thought they were building next-generation submarines, and a lot of compartmentalized information," Pierce replied. "Nobody knew the whole picture except a few people at the very top." The images changed again, now showing ships. They were clearly inspired by the alien design, but had a distinct human style. Some were small and fast-looking. Others were massive, bristling with what appeared to be weapons. "The Earth Defense Fleet," Admiral Ross said proudly. 53 combat vessels and over 300 support craft. "The flagship is the EDF Sentinel, which I command personally." President Lawson studied the images carefully. "And the hegemony has no idea these exist." "None whatsoever," Admiral Ross confirmed. "Our ships use technology that masks them from standard scans. As far as the hegemony knows, our most advanced vessels are the International Space Station and a few Mars orbiters." Dr. Wells had been studying the hegemony's messages carefully. Based on their communication style, they expect us to be grateful for the opportunity to join their empire. They see themselves as benevolent rulers bringing primitive species into their fold. "Not so primitive after all," Gardner said with a smile. President Lawson turned to Admiral Ross. "How quickly can the fleet be ready?" "Most ships are already at combat readiness," Ross replied. "We've been running drills for years. We can have the full fleet mobilized within 48 hours. Pierce looked concerned. "But we've never tested our ships in actual combat. We don't know how they'll perform against hegemony vessels." "That's why we won't engage directly," Ross said. "Not at first. We need intelligence. I suggest we send diplomat Gregory Martinez to stall for time. Meanwhile, we'll dispatch stealth ships to gather information on their fleet's strength and capabilities." President Lawson nodded. "Gregory is perfect. He can talk for hours while saying almost nothing. He'll keep them distracted while we prepare." "The hegemony's forward fleet is positioning itself near the moon," General Russell noted. "Our lunar sensors indicate they have around 20 vessels of various sizes, and we have no idea of their capabilities," Captain Gardner added. Admiral Ross stood tall, her confidence unwavering. "Then we'll need to find out. I'm authorizing a stealth mission to get close to their command ship. Lieutenant Commander Jack Peterson will lead the operation." "Who's going to tell the public?" Dr. Wells asked quietly. President Lawson sighed. "We'll tell them a partial truth, that we're negotiating with the aliens. We'll keep the fleet secret until the last possible moment." The room fell silent as everyone contemplated what was coming. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, and only a few hundred people on Earth knew it. Gregory Martinez adjusted his tie nervously as the transport shuttle approached the massive hegemony ship. Though he had spent 30 years as a diplomat, nothing had prepared him for negotiating with aliens who wanted to conquer Earth. "Remember," President Lawson had told him, "your job is not to reach an agreement. Your job is to waste their time." The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. The door hissed open, revealing two tall, blue-skinned aliens. They had 4 arms each and eyes that seemed to glow from within. "Welcome, Earth representative," one said in perfect English. "I am Sub-Commander Vextal. You will be escorted to Admiral Zach's vault immediately." Martinez followed them through curved hallways made of a material that seemed to shimmer between solid and liquid. He noticed how the aliens looked down at him, like adults humoring a child. "Your ship is impressive," Martinez said, stopping to admire a wall panel. "What is this material made of?" The aliens exchanged glances. "That is not relevant to surrender negotiations," Vextal said. "Please continue moving." Martinez nodded but walked even slower. Every minute he spent here was another minute for Earth's fleet to prepare. Admiral Zach Thal was waiting in a large chamber. The admiral stood nearly 8 feet tall, with skin that was deep purple rather than blue. 6 arms moved in complex patterns as he spoke. "Earth diplomat, you are late," Zach Thal said. "The surrender process is simple. You will sign these documents, and your planet will become a protected territory of the hegemony." Martinez smiled pleasantly. "Admiral, I'm afraid I cannot sign anything without fully understanding it. Our customs require me to review each document in detail. Perhaps you could explain the first 50 pages to me." Miles away, hidden in the shadow of an asteroid, Lieutenant Commander Jack Peterson guided his stealth ship closer to the hegemony fleet. His vessel, the EDF Phantom, was the smallest combat ship in Earth's fleet, designed specifically for reconnaissance. "Hold position," Peterson whispered to his crew of 5. "Let's see what we can learn." The ship's sensors recorded everything about the hegemony vessels, their power signatures, communication frequencies, and weapon systems. Most importantly, they detected what appeared to be a weakness in the hegemony sensor grid. "They're not scanning a full sphere around their ships," Lieutenant Sarah Hoffman noted. "There's a blind spot near their engine emissions." Peterson smiled. "That's our way in." Back on the hegemony command ship, Gregory Martinez was driving Admiral Zach Thal to the edge of patience. "But what exactly do you mean by protected territory?" Martinez asked for the 3rd time. "And could you explain again how your tax system works? I'm particularly interested in Section 1043, Paragraph 7. Zach Thal's skin darkened with frustration. "Earth diplomat, these are standard terms. All species accept them without question." "Ah, but humans are naturally curious," Martinez replied. "We need to understand everything in detail. It's just how we are." On Earth, Admiral Ross watched the deployment of her fleet with satisfaction. The massive ships moved silently from their hidden bases, using the moon and asteroid belt for cover. "The hegemony still thinks we're defenseless," she told President Lawson. "Their long-range scans show nothing but our public space stations." "And Peterson's mission?" the president asked. "Successful so far. He's mapped their communication networks and found a way to access their tactical data. We now know their fleet consists of 23 ships, but only 5 are true warships. The rest are support vessels." President Lawson nodded. "Then we have an advantage. They came expecting to accept a surrender, not fight a war." Meanwhile, Martinez had begun asking detailed questions about hegemony cultural practices, claiming it was essential for Earth to understand their new partners. "Perhaps a demonstration of our traditional Earth greeting ritual would help build trust," Martinez suggested, proceeding to teach the increasingly irritated Zach Thal an unnecessarily complex handshake. The hegemony admiral finally lost patience. "Enough. You have 3 more Earth days to complete the surrender process. After that, we will consider your planet hostile." Martinez bowed deeply. "I completely understand, Admiral." Now, about Section 2791. As Martinez continued his deliberate stalling, Earth's hidden fleet moved into position, ready to launch humanity's first interstellar war. Captain Nicole Blackwood sat in the command chair of the EDF Valiant, one of Earth's most advanced warships. Her crew moved with quiet efficiency around her as they prepared for humanity's first battle against an alien force. "All systems ready, Captain," First Officer Frank Daniels reported. "The fleet is in position." Blackwood nodded. 59 days since their ultimatum. "We strike tomorrow. But tonight we get our people out." The plan was simple but dangerous. Gregory Martinez needed to be extracted from the Hegemony command ship before Earth launched its surprise attack. Lieutenant Commander Peterson and his stealth team had volunteered for the mission. "Peterson's team is approaching the Hegemony vessel now," Daniels said, pointing to a small blip on the tactical display. Peterson guided his small craft toward the blind spot they had discovered in the Hegemony sensors. His heart pounded as they came within 100 meters of the massive alien ship. "They haven't detected us," whispered Lieutenant Hoffman. "We're clear to proceed." Using specialized cutting tools, Peterson's team created an entry point in the Hegemony ship's outer hull. They slipped inside, their suits designed to mask their life signs from alien sensors. "According to the ship schematic we pulled from their network, the diplomatic quarters are 3 levels down," Peterson said to his team through their secure communication system. Meanwhile, Admiral Ross was addressing the commanders of Earth's fleet from her flagship, the EDF Sentinel. "The Hegemony has never faced serious resistance," she explained. "They expect species to surrender without a fight. Tomorrow, we show them that humanity is different." She displayed the attack plan on the screens. "Captain Blackwood will lead the first wave. The Valiant and its battle group will target the Hegemony's forward ships, while the rest of the fleet moves to cut off their retreat." On the Hegemony command ship, Martinez was still finding new ways to delay the surrender process. "I notice your lighting systems have a slight flicker every 7.3 seconds, he said to the increasingly furious Admiral Zaxfall. "Is that intentional? On Earth, we have very specific requirements for lighting during diplomatic negotiations." Zaxfall slammed all 6 of his hands on the table. "Enough. You will sign the surrender documents now, or we will begin planetary bombardment." Martinez nodded solemnly. "I understand completely, Admiral. But first, I believe I should use your restroom facilities. It's a biological necessity for humans during important decisions." As Martinez was escorted to what the Hegemony called waste recycling chambers, he felt a light tap on his shoulder. He turned to see Peterson in a stealth suit, barely visible even at arm's length. "Time to go, sir," Peterson whispered. "Follow my lead." Using a device developed from the alien technology found in the abandoned ship, Peterson's team created a temporary sensor blackout. In the confusion, they escorted Martinez back to their stealth craft. "Mission accomplished," Peterson reported as they detached from the Hegemony vessel. "Diplomat secured. Returning to the Valiant." Back on Earth, President Lawson addressed the United Nations one final time before the attack. "Tomorrow, we will reveal our true strength to the Galactic Hegemony," she said. "For decades, we have prepared in secret. Now we fight not just for our planet, but for our right to remain free." At exactly 600 hours Earth time, Captain Blackwood gave the order that would change human history forever. "All ships, weapons hot. Engage the enemy." The Valiant fired first, its advanced particle beams cutting through the shields of the nearest Hegemony vessel. The other Earth ships followed, launching a coordinated attack that caught the aliens completely by surprise. On the Hegemony command ship, Admiral Zaxfall watched in shock as his forward fleet erupted in explosions. "Impossible," he whispered. "They're primitives. They have no space combat capability." The battle had begun, and the Galactic Hegemony was about to learn a harsh lesson about humanity. The Hegemony Council chamber was filled with angry voices. News of the defeat had spread quickly through their vast empire. Screens showed the burning wrecks of their ships, destroyed by what they had thought was a primitive species. "How is this possible?" demanded Council leader Drenzor. "Earth was supposed to be a simple acquisition." Admiral Zaxfall stood before the Council, his purple skin now pale with shame. "The humans deceived us. They hid their true capabilities." "Unacceptable," Drenzor slammed his fist down. No species has ever resisted the hegemony. This cannot stand. The Council quickly approved the release of 3 additional battle groups. Over 60 warships would now head to Earth with orders to crush all resistance. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Commander Brandon Hayes watched the hegemony reinforcements arrive through long-range sensors. His fleet was unlike the regular Earth Defense Force ships. His vessels were converted mining ships, ugly and irregular, but perfect for hiding among the asteroids. "They'll expect us to fight like they do," Hayes told his crew. "But we're not going to play by their rules." Hayes had spent years training his crews in guerrilla tactics. They would hit fast, then disappear among the thousands of asteroids. On Earth, Dr. Ryan Cooper worked frantically in his laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean. President Lawson and General Russell watched as he demonstrated his latest invention. "I call it a gravity lance," Cooper explained. He pointed to a small device on the table. "It creates a focused gravitational distortion that can tear a ship apart from the inside." "Will it work against their shields?" General Russell asked. Cooper nodded. "Their shields are designed to stop energy and physical projectiles. They don't protect against gravitational forces." "How soon can we deploy these?" President Lawson asked. "I can have 50 ready within 48 hours, Cooper replied. "Enough for our frontline ships." In orbit around Earth's moon, the hegemony's new commander, Grand Admiral Krelvon, prepared his attack. Unlike Zaxthal, he would not underestimate the humans. "Target their orbital habitats first," he ordered. "Show them the price of defiance." The hegemony ships moved into position and opened fire on Lunar Colony Alpha, home to over 10,000 civilians. Lieutenant Sofia Martinez, daughter of diplomat Gregory Martinez, was stationed there as a security officer. "Evacuation Protocol Delta," she shouted as the first blasts rocked the colony. "All civilians to the emergency shelters." Martinez led a team through smoke-filled corridors, helping the injured reach the underground shelters. Above them, the colony's outer domes began to crack under the hegemony's bombardment. "We have 20 minutes before total structural failure," reported her second-in-command, Sergeant Joe Miller. "The shuttles won't be enough," Martinez realized. "We need more time." She made a quick decision, leading her team to the colony's defense control room. The lunar colony wasn't supposed to have weapons, but Earth had secretly installed defensive systems as a precaution. "Activate Lunar Defense Grid. Authorization Martinez Alpha 7, she commanded. Hidden turrets emerged from the lunar surface, firing at the hegemony ships. The aliens were surprised by this new resistance, pulling back temporarily. "That won't hold them long," Miller warned. "It doesn't need to," Martinez replied. "Just long enough for the evacuation shuttles." Back on Earth, Admiral Ross received word of the attack on Lunar Colony Alpha. "They're targeting civilians now," she told President Lawson. "This war just got uglier." President Lawson's face hardened. "Then we respond in kind. Authorize Commander Hayes to begin Operation Hornet's Nest." In the asteroid belt, Hayes received the orders and smiled grimly. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega," he commanded. "Hit and fade. Focus on their supply ships." His fleet of converted mining vessels moved out from their hiding places, accelerating toward the hegemony's supply lines. Unlike traditional warships, these vessels could change direction rapidly using their mining thrusters. The first hegemony supply ship exploded as Hayes's lead vessel fired its makeshift weapons, mining lasers converted to military use. The hegemony had wanted a simple surrender. Instead, they had started a war they weren't prepared to fight. The EDF Sentinel moved through the darkness of space, heavily damaged from its last battle. Admiral Ross stood on the bridge, reviewing reports of Earth's losses. The war had been raging for 2 weeks, and despite their initial success, humanity was being pushed back by the sheer number of hegemony forces. "We can't keep this up much longer," General Russell said over the secure comlink. "We've lost 17 ships. The hegemony has lost more, but they have more to lose." Ross was about to respond when her communications officer called out, "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission on an unknown frequency. It's not hegemony standard." "Put it through," Ross ordered, her hand resting on her sidearm. This could be a trick. The view screen flickered to life, showing a being unlike the blue-skinned hegemony aliens. This creature had iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors and large, expressive eyes. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Lyra of the Alari. We have been watching your resistance against the hegemony with great interest." Ross exchanged glances with her officers. The hegemony told us they were the only advanced species in this sector. Lyra made a sound that might have been laughter. "The hegemony tells many lies. There are dozens of species they have conquered. Some, like mine, they claim are extinct. We have been hiding, gathering strength. Now, with your resistance, the time has come to act." On Earth, President Lawson met with the United Nations Security Council to share this new development. "The Alari claim they can provide us with advanced shield technology," she explained. "Technology that would give us an edge against the hegemony. Can we trust them?" asked the representative from Japan. "We have little choice," Lawson replied. Ambassador Lisa Chen is already on her way to meet with the Alari representatives. Lisa Chen was the youngest ambassador in Earth's diplomatic corps, but she had a natural talent for understanding non-human perspectives. As her shuttle docked with the hidden Alari vessel, she prepared herself for humanity's second first contact in a month. Ambassador Lyra greeted Chen personally. "Your species has surprised us all," Lyra said. "No one has openly defied the hegemony in centuries." "We're stubborn that way," Chen replied with a small smile. "Tell me about these other species who might join our cause." Lyra led Chen to a chamber where representatives from 5 other alien species waited. Each looked wildly different from the others. Some had multiple limbs, others moved like liquid, and one appeared to be made of crystalline structures. "The hegemony has dominated our galaxy for too long," Lyra explained. "They strip planets of resources, force species into labor, and destroy those who resist. Your fight has given us hope." Meanwhile, Admiral Ross was meeting with Lieutenant Commander Peterson to discuss a daring plan. "The hegemony's main shipyard is at Proxima Centauri," Peterson explained, pointing to the star system nearest to Earth. "Our new allies have provided us with the exact coordinates and security protocols." "You want to attack their shipyard?" Ross asked, considering the implications. "Not attack," Peterson clarified. "Infiltrate. A small team can plant explosives at key points. When they detonate, the hegemony will lose their ability to replace the ships we destroy." Ross nodded slowly. "It's risky, but it could turn the tide. Assemble your team." Back on the hegemony homeworld, news of Earth's resistance was spreading despite the Council's efforts to control information. Many subjugated species began to question why a primitive planet could fight back when they could not. Grand Admiral Krelvon received alarming reports of unrest on 12 hegemony worlds. "Crush these rebellions immediately," he ordered, "and accelerate the attack on Earth. We must make an example of them before this spreads further." But it was already too late. The spark of resistance had ignited across the galaxy. Earth's defiance had shown what many thought impossible, that the hegemony could be fought. As Ambassador Chen signed the first alliance treaty between Earth and non-hegemony species, a new chapter in the war began. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. The sky over Kansas burned red as hegemony landing ships descended through Earth's atmosphere. Despite humanity's best efforts, the aliens had broken through the outer defenses. Now the war had reached Earth itself. Major Kevin Wright watched from his command post as the alien vessels touched down. He had 500 soldiers under his command, tasked with defending this region of the American Midwest. "Remember your training," Wright told his troops over the comm system. "We've studied their tactics. We know their weaknesses." The first hegemony soldiers emerged from their ships. They were tall and blue, wearing armor that seemed to shift and flow around their bodies. They carried weapons that fired pulses of energy. "Hold positions," Wright ordered. "Let them advance." The aliens moved forward with confidence, clearly expecting little resistance from what they still considered a primitive species. They didn't notice the subtle mounds in the earth ahead of them. "Now," Wright commanded. The ground erupted as hidden weapons platforms activated. Gravity lances, Dr. Cooper's new invention, fired invisible beams that tore through the aliens' advanced armor. The hegemony soldiers fell in confusion, their technology useless against this unexpected weapon. In orbit above Earth, the space battle raged with even greater intensity. Captain Daniel Reeves commanded the EDF Defiant, one of Earth's largest battleships. His vessel had already taken heavy damage, but it was still fighting. "Status report," Reeves called out as his ship shuddered from another hit. "Shields at 20%, his tactical officer responded. "Main weapons still operational, but cooling systems are failing." Reeves studied the tactical display. The massive hegemony flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was directing the attack on Earth. As long as it remained operational, the assault would continue. "Set course for the hegemony flagship," Reeves ordered. "Sir," his first officer questioned, "our shields won't last in a direct engagement." "We're not going to engage," Reeves said quietly. "We're going to ram them." As the Defiant changed course, Dr. Samantha Wells was working frantically in her lab. For weeks, she had been studying hegemony communications, looking for a pattern, a weakness, anything that might help. "There," she exclaimed, pointing to a sequence on her screen. "Their communications contain hidden signals. They're not just sending tactical data." She worked quickly, decoding the hidden message embedded in the hegemony's transmissions. What she found changed everything. "The Hegemony Council," she breathed. "I know where they are." Admiral Ross received Wells' discovery while on board the Sentinel, which was fighting near Mars. "The hegemony is ruled by a council of 7, Ross explained to President Lawson over a secure channel. "They direct the war from a station orbiting their homeworld, Zax Thuleria. They never expected anyone to discover its location." "Can we reach it?" Lawson asked. "With the new jump drives the Alari provided, yes," Ross confirmed. "I'm assembling a strike force now." Back on Earth, Captain Reeves watched as his ship approached the hegemony flagship. "All non-essential personnel to escape pods," he ordered. "Helm, maintain course." "It's been an honor, sir," his first officer said, saluting before heading to the evacuation point. Reeves remained on the bridge with a skeleton crew of volunteers. The Defiant accelerated toward the massive alien ship. "They've noticed us," the tactical officer reported. "They're firing." The Defiant shuddered under the assault, but kept moving forward. "For Earth," Reeves said quietly as his ship slammed into the hegemony flagship. The explosion was visible across Earth's orbit. The Eternal Dominion broke apart, its command structure destroyed. On the ground, Major Wright received word of the sacrifice. "Keep pushing," he told his troops. "Captain Reeves just gave us a chance. Let's not waste it." As the ground forces rallied, Admiral Ross prepared her strike team for the most daring mission yet, a direct assault on the hegemony's ruling council. "This is our moment," she told them. One final push could end this war. Earth had suffered, but it had not fallen. And now, for the first time, victory seemed possible. Admiral Catherine Ross stood on the bridge of the EDF Sentinel as it emerged from its jump near Zax Thuleria, the hegemony homeworld. 5 other Earth ships followed, along with vessels from the Alari and other allied species. This was the strike force that would attempt to end the war. "Scan for defenses," Ross ordered. "Heavy fortifications around the main space station," her tactical officer reported. "At least 30 warships in defensive positions." Ross had expected this. The Hegemony Council would be well protected. "Send the signal to our allies across hegemony space," she commanded. "It's time." Throughout the vast hegemony, sleeper agents activated. The subjugated species that had secretly allied with Earth began their coordinated rebellions. On 100 worlds, The oppressed rose up against their rulers. As the hegemony defenses scrambled to address these unexpected uprisings, Ross's strike force advanced toward the council station. Incoming transmission from the hegemony, the communications officer announced. The main screen showed a hegemony official, his blue skin pale with fear. "This is Council Guardian Vexmore. You will retreat immediately or face complete destruction." Ross smiled coldly. "This is Admiral Catherine Ross of Earth. Your empire is falling. Surrender now, and we will spare your lives." "The hegemony does not surrender," Vexmore replied, ending the transmission. "All ships, battle formation," Ross ordered. "Follow the plan." The Earth and allied vessels formed a wedge, with the Sentinel at its point. Using technology provided by the Alari, they projected a shared shield that absorbed the hegemony's initial barrage. "Now, Lieutenant Hoffman," Ross said. From the Sentinel's communication array, Sarah Hoffman broadcast a message to every screen in the hegemony. It showed footage of the Council's brutality against dozens of species, evidence gathered by Dr. Wells and resistance fighters across the galaxy. "People of the hegemony," Hoffman's voice announced, "your leaders have lied to you. These are the true faces of those who claim to rule in your name." The broadcast continued, showing the luxurious living conditions of the Council compared to the suffering of ordinary citizens. It revealed secret documents detailing plans to sacrifice entire hegemony worlds, if necessary to maintain control. On the hegemony ships, crews paused in confusion. Many had never seen such images before. "Their formations are breaking," the tactical officer reported. "3 ships have powered down weapons." "Press the advantage," Ross ordered. The Earth fleet pushed forward, targeting only ships that continued to fight. More and more hegemony vessels stood down, their crews unwilling to die for leaders they now questioned. The Sentinel approached the Council station, its weapons ready. "Final warning," Ross transmitted. "Surrender the Council, or we will take them by force." After a tense minute, the station's shields lowered. "We surrender," came the reply. 3 days later, representatives from Earth and 30 formerly subjugated species gathered in the hegemony's Grand Council chamber. General Alan Russell and Admiral Ross stood before them. "The Hegemony Council has been removed from power," Russell announced. "But we have not come to replace one empire with another. Each world must decide its own future." Ross stepped forward. "We propose a new Galactic Council, where all species have equal representation. No more conquests. No more subjugation." The chamber erupted in cheers of support. 1 month later, Captain Nickel Blackwood stood on the bridge of the EDF Explorer, the first of Earth's new vessels dedicated to peaceful exploration rather than war. "Course set, Captain," her navigator reported. "The Andromeda system awaits." Blackwood smiled. "Take us out, Lieutenant. Let's see what's out there." As the Explorer departed Earth orbit, it passed a memorial to those who had died in the war, including Captain Reeves and the crew of the Defiant. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. Earth had faced extinction and instead found its place among the stars. The galactic hegemony had ordered Earth to surrender, and humanity had replied with warships. Now they would reply with friendship to those who offered the same. The universe was vast, and humanity's journey was just beginning.